stuff. We've seen things like Kane coming out from Kold. We saw Elise coming out from Jankos yesterday. So it's difficult to assess what they really put high priority on. The only things that we've seen really be consistent for the side of Origen is that Mithy likes to play Alistair, and when he can't get his hands on Alistair, he often goes towards the Morgana.
Yep.
So we'll see if that becomes a high priority, given that Thresh and Braum seem to be the go-to supports currently on patch 9.3.
I've seen Mithy play a single game of Braum so far, one on it, so shouldn't be too out of his wheelhouse.
But insta-lock with the Cassio
first
there.
pick Cassio here from G2.
So remember, this could still go bot lane, could still be played mid. She has had a bunch of nerfs. One of the reasons why she kind of fell out of favor in the bot lane is because of the miasma nerfs that happened. They lost a lot of damage, the cost increase went up as well. So now mid laners, if they're going to play it, they much prefer the mid lane where you can just funnel all those extra resources into her, get her to that late game or the item spike that she kind of wants.
Ooh, okay. It's going to be a Karthus here locked in for Kold, you would assume, alongside the Ezreal. So
unless they decide to put the Karthus into the Cassio, because I have seen that a couple times.
Okay.
You can farm fairly safely from range. And while, like, if you ever land a Maz or a Q onto the Karthus, you can just kind of melt through him. It actually sets up really nicely, because remember, she doesn't have boots, which means that landing the Wall of Pain is really, really easy from the side of Karthus. So just want to throw that out there. Potentially played in the mid lane, but yes, you would expect it. Ha! And there is the Shaco hover. The reason why that's happening is because Dracos did an interview where he said, if G2 play Shaco mid and win with it, what will we be able to do? So a bit of a troll there from Caps.
Oh, there is a Sylas possibility here, though. You're looking at Ezreal, looking at Karthus. Sylas locked in. And, like, if anyone's going to get it. If anyone's going to get it.
In Europe, Sylas hasn't won a game yet.
Yes, but Caps hasn't played it yet.
So you're like in that weird quandary, right? Where it's like a paradox. A champion can never win in Europe, but now you've got one of the teams that has never lost a game. So what will happen?
We'll find out.
On the next episode of So yeah, the Sylas, I think I don't know what G2's draft looks like right now. I don't even know where these champions are being played. For all I know, this is a Pyke mid lane.
It's kind of greeny blue, I think. Whereas on the other side, it's more purpley blue. Yeah. That's the big difference.
So the cannon pick is easy to talk about. That's very likely going to go onto Alphari. It's a champion that he's played a lot of this split. With the Jace banned away and the Urgot banned away, cannon just becomes like the next most powerful top laner. But he's going to struggle against something like a Cassio, so I don't know, man. We'll talk about the bans as they come through.
I think we can do that. There's a Jarvan ban as well coming out from Origen. Next phase, what have we still got? Still got things like the Scion. Looks like LeBlanc's going to be banned out in the mid lane. Other possibilities here, I'm looking at AD carries maybe for G2, but you could be taking that Cassio down towards the bottom lane. A little bit of a kill lane with the Pyke.
It looks like right now Origen just want to ban away potential top laners that they expect Wunder to go onto. I think Jarvan's a good ban because he can just farm from a distance, he can play relatively safe, he has good escape options against the cannon as well.
Is there anything else that you ban against the cannon?
No, not really. I think that he does pretty well against most of the other meta stuff that you could potentially run up there. Scion would be the only other extreme, but like he does really well in Scion, so I don't think you have to be worried about that. They're actually just going to go for another early game jungler ban. What does this suggest? Because, I mean, you're kind of assuming that the Karthus is in the jungle and they're taking away some of the early game junglers that are very prevalent. Yeah. But Lee Sin is obviously still up and available. Should G2 want to go in that, Elise is another one that is available as well. So, but maybe Origen is saying, you know what? We want to bait the Elise pick out because the Karthus actually isn't in the jungle. He's in the mid, haha, and then we'll pick something good that's into the Elise. I don't know. This draft is a very difficult one to call.
Yeah. I want to ask just a question about drafting strategy here for Origen rather than about the specifics. When you know there's a Sylas on the enemy team and you have locked in, 3 pretty impactful ultimates already, does it change the next sets of ultimates, the next sets of champions that you lock in? Do you actually care too much about which ults the Sylas can?
I don't think you can afford to, because I think you just kind of have to build a composition that best allows you to win the game. And unfortunately, if that means that Sylas has a bunch of ults that he can steal, then that's just a situation you're going to have to deal with. But what Origen is saying here is, you know what? We actually have a pretty solid teamfight composition right now. We want a little bit more engage, so we're going to go for the Rakan down towards the bot lane. And again, the only thing we know pretty confidently is that the cannon is in the top lane. We still don't know whether the Karthus is going in mid or in the jungle. but it looks like the composition's rounded out a little bit more for G2. The big question mark is, do they put Cassio top or do they put it mid? And I would say that if they want to play into the cannon, then you would put the Cassio into the cannon and you would keep the Sylas in the mid lane. Which means that if you're Origen right now, I would want to put the Karthus in the jungle, and then I would want to pick a winning matchup from the side of Origen. Maybe a little bit more AD damage!
Oh! You got there.
I was just a little too late. I was like,
what an exciting draft this is as well. You've got the Zed, you have the Rakan, Karthus, Kennen, Ezreal. That seems so powerful to me.
But there's a Zed, mate. Give me a second.
Okay, do you want me to keep talking? You think about the Zed.
No, because funnily enough, I actually would have said Nocturne here, but because I legitimately think it's a good pick into it. But the thing about Zed is you always have to think about what ultimates can potentially be stolen. And just so you guys can't see the timer on your screen, but currently at 24, at about 20 seconds, you have to lock in 21, 20, the positions are locked in. So it will be Wunder playing Sylas up in the top lane. They do not want him playing, they do not want to have the Sylas into the Zed matchup, and they're actually going to put Cassio into it. So I think G2 are pretty happy with the mid lane matchup, but Sylas will struggle a little bit against Kennen. Fortunately, he's pretty mobile with his E, gap closer, and then he has the W as well to get that sustain. So in terms of skirmishing, Sylas should be able to hold his own, but you know, he does get outranged, he will get poked a lot, so I think he will struggle in terms of the early levels. We'll see, we'll keep track of it as the game progresses, but we have a Zed. We had a Pantheon earlier, we've now got a Zed coming out from Nukeduck that is a completely new champion, once again. He's now at 9 champions in 10 games. Nukeduck, he does this every year, man. Champion Ocean.
So, do you know the last time Nukeduck played Zed?
When was the last time?
2018 summer. Do you know who he played against?
Was it Caps?
G2.
Oh, it was against G2.
Against Perkz. So now, we'll see if...
Didn't he lose that game?
I didn't get that bit of information fed into my ear. So I will wait until I've got it fed into my ear and then I'll tell you. But it's going to be an exciting game, you have to feel. Sylas, Zed, Cassio, Kennen, all of these on Summoner's Rift. I want to talk about what the compositions want to do, though, that is, because we've been so distracted by the picks. I haven't really decided yet what either OG or G2 want to do this game.
So they're not very conventional picks. And what I can say about the compositions is both are very squishy. Now, some Sylases do go relatively tanky. Some I've seen go for Iceborne Gauntlet, but I imagine Wunder's probably just going to go full AP. We'll keep track of that, but both compositions very, very squishy and deal a lot of damage. Now, speaking of damage, Wunder already looking to get a bit onto Mithy.
Caps gets someone as well with the Noxious Blast. Is the Cassio mid lane. And Patrik will answer. Didn't get a pot of gold from the Kleptomancy, so that's a shame for him. Nukeduck did win that game against G2 playing for Schalke, so... It
was against Yasuo too, I think.
Quite possibly.
My memory serves me correctly.
So both teams are very squishy, Vedius.
Yes.
Both teams have slightly unconventional picks. Origen...
scaling is definitely in favor of G2, I would argue, just because Cassio Sivir, not only is it really good at Baron, but also just in teamfights it's really strong. The only counterpoint to that is Karthus and Kennen. Late game team fights, sure, they're certainly strong, but like I think Zed gets really difficult to play, especially against the Sivir, because you can spell shield his ultimate.
You definitely can.
And then Ezreal, like, sure, it's not like he has a weak late game, right? Especially with the double tier build that we often see, but against the Sivir, her AoE damage in teamfights is just ridiculous. So I definitely think that scaling is on the side of G2, but they've never really relied on scaling. No. They've often been very early game focused. We saw all the stats about how dominant they are. They're on track to be the most dominant team in European history, period. And Jankos is on early game jungler, and he has lanes to play around because of how squishy the entire composition of Origen is. So, yeah, I think I am expecting a bit of a bloodbath, and it's definitely not going to come from Kold. He's much more in the let's farm the jungle, let's wait a little bit.
And there's always the possibility for counter-ganks as Karthus. We actually saw Xerxes on his first game on Karthus this split have an incredible performance. I think it was 4-0-4 relatively early on in that game, just because he kept finding counter-gank after counter-gank. But yesterday, Kold had a pretty good number on his opposing jungler. We'll have to see if he can maintain that today. We haven't talked a huge amount about the Rakan pick. Of course, still the nerfed Rakan, which is always a bugbear for me, because I love good Rakan, and this is bad Rakan, but still does have that teamfight influence that you would like.
So, it's funny that we have a Zed in this game, because Rakan reminds me a lot of the nerf to Zed that came through. Do you remember a long time ago what happened to Zed's Shadow?
You were slower to activate it.
Yeah, and they kind of did the same thing to Rakan's W.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, like, yeah, and people still play Zed. I'm like, no, they don't. No one plays Zed. That nerf pretty much took him out of pro play. And then I was like,
rode Rakan's coattails to Diamond 2, and now I can't get out of Plat 2. I think that shows something.
You'll find a new champion soon, my friend.
I tried playing Nocturne mid today. We had a show match, me against Trevor.
Yeah.
I played Nocturne mid, he played Corky.
Yeah.
I killed him early on, and then I kept dying quite a lot.
To him?
Yeah.
Oh.
And the Hecarim.
Okay.
But Trevor will say it was just the Corky.
You do pretty well into Corky, though. Because his Valkyrie doesn't get out of range of your tether, which means that if you land Q and E, he can't actually escape the fear. Unlike someone like an Ezreal who can actually jump out of the fear.
Because his Valkyrie seems to get away from my tether quite a lot of the time.
Yeah, but the point is that because you get the bonus movement speed from your Q, you can actually
I played it wrong, is what we're saying.
Yeah,
okay, that makes a lot of sense. Alphari's just fixing an issue with his mouse, so we should be back in.
So that's why we're just talking about Nocturne versus Corky matchup. Let's talk a little bit about the Zed versus Cassio matchup. Because it's not a matchup that many people commonly see. If you've ever played it in solo queue, you'll know that Cassio is really obnoxious to deal with. Every time you try to last hit the minion, Cassio hits you with a Noxious Blast. You will start with a longsword and 3 pots to just have that bit of sustainability, but basically your whole goal in that matchup will be to try and last hit with the Q. The matchup does have potential to get better at around level 6. The problem is when Nukeduck tries to go for an all-in, Caps knows where he will land with the ultimate.
Shadow always spawns behind you.
Yes, so you can then point your ultimate in that direction, and it increases your likelihood of securing the stun. Obviously, Nukeduck can click the other way and try and turn around. It's about whether or not he can actually pull it off or not. So it's very difficult to kill a Cassio, basically. The only advantage that Nukeduck has is that with 3 shadows up, he has a decent amount of mobility. So there is, if you dodge a single Noxious Blast, a lot of the damage in the early game just disappears from the Cassio.
Especially with the Qmax Cassio that we've seen a lot more most recently, right?
So this is the thing, like, it can be a bit of a skill matchup, but definitely early levels, Nukeduck is forced to play very defensively. He's just going to have to farm as best as he can. But it's definitely not going to be an easy one.
And need to avoid ganks from Jankos as well, because if they don't keep control of the vision around there, Origen might see that Zed falling foul to some early jungle pressure from Jankos, who yesterday showed us just how effective he can be in the early game. Yep,
definitely true. So we are back into game, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for bearing with us. Just into a bit of pushing action down the bot lane.
At least now, if they ever want to play Nocturne into Corky, they know exactly how to play that matchup. Yeah. We're out of it again, but we'll be back in a second, hopefully. We'll have to find out exactly what is happening. Vedius.
It looks like Alphari still has the same issue.
Okay, well, that makes sense. How much do you know about Sylas in the top lane, in Kennen? How much do you know about this matchup? How much do you think you can break down in the moment? Because we've done the mid lane.
Sylas versus
I care about Sylas Kennen, because you said in Pick and Ban, you were like, you know, I'd probably take the Cassio into the Kennen and keep the Sylas mid against whatever's picked. And then G2 decided, oh, we've seen the Zed, we're going to take Cassio into Zed and put the Sylas into a Kennen matchup.
The thing about... because we have a pause.
Yeah, that's why we've got a bit of time. That's why I'm breaking it down for you.
So I wouldn't normally talk about this in a game because it's really long-winded, but because we have the time.
Wait, do I have to listen to you for longer then?
Yes, you do. It's this effect called the... I used to call it the Victor effect, right? But it's basically the effect of champions that have not seen a lot of play, you don't have the same level of experience against, right?
That's understandable.
Which means that even in matchups that on paper should go one way, sometimes you're a little afraid to kind of push that, or maybe you don't want to try and exert as much pressure as you typically would because you're not as familiar with the champion as you used to be. So the one thing I will say about Sylas is because he's banned a lot, and I imagine in scrims, the fact that he's banned pretty much all the time means you probably don't get to play against him that much either. So I think that right now, Alphari, even though he has a range advantage, he's just showing a bit of extra respect towards Alphari, Wunder, just because there is that potential for the unknown factor about the champion. Now, the other thing is, the thing about Sylas is typically you start with the E first, which is your dash into the stun.
Abscond, abduct.
Yeah, and that gives you a shield, which means you can mitigate some of the poke that comes out from Alphari and even threaten to actually jump on top of him and trade. And because what many Kennens do is actually start with the E as that level 1 skill for that extra bit of mobility. It also gives you some bonus stats as well. You can't actually trade that aggressive. Once you get level 2, level 3, so you've got the points in your W and your Q, that's when you can look to trade back a little bit more. But it looks like for the early game, because Wunder was able to get that early push off, he probably went for a bit of an early aggressive trade with his E into the E. That's why right now Alphari is playing on the back foot a little bit, but judging by how the current state looks like in the top lane, he's sitting on an extra pot. He also has a red pot. And I imagine that when the wave starts to bounce back, you'll see that the wave should go slightly more in favor of Alphari.
And Alphari has gone for the Kleptomancy cannon in that top lane as well. Yesterday we saw some phase wash cannon to try and avoid ganks a little bit more, to try and avoid those prolonged trades. Here, Kleptomancy into Grasp of the Undying coming out from Wunder. There has been a bit of debate with Silas's what the best keystone to take is. I've heard a little bit about Aftershock, I've heard a little bit about Grasp. I guess if you're trading regularly, Grasp does make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think it is, because it just adds to the already ridiculous sustain that the champion does have. And I think that when you're going up against a bully matchup too, just everything that it provides, I think is really nice in the matchup. So I like it top lane, I think it's good. If you're going mid lane, I've seen Caps run Fleet Footwork all the time, and the excuse... So I reached out to G2 to ask them, can you tell me a little bit about why you run Fleet Footwork? Yep. And the reply from Caps was, he's been in prison for a really long time, so I wanted to give him some shoes. Caps, ladies and gentlemen. So we are jumping back into game. The issue should have been resolved. We did have some tech and gear replaced for Alphari, and we are only 3 minutes into game. So no major things have happened since if you've only just joined us.
Yeah, not as of yet. We'll jump back on into the action. G2 up against Origen. First game of the second half of the split for both these teams, and Origen are coming off pretty high recently. You know, they played relatively well in the last few games. I think they've won the last 4 in a row. I don't think many people expect them to make it 5, but you never know. Could be the first team to take down G2. Especially with this Z pick in the mid lane. If Nukeduck can pop off, maybe they can do something.
I mean, the thing about Zed is you've always got to remember he's really strong in side lane, and in theory, the only one that can match him is Wunder. And that's why I wanted to talk a little bit about in draft was having Wunder steal Nukeduck's ult could be really funny. Because it's effectively like Zed versus Zed.
Yeah, I've got my call for it lined up.
Oh, perfect, great, because you might need it.
I think we'll have to look at the moves, look at the plays.
It looks like that we have another pause coming out from Alphari. Same issue, so clearly something wrong. We have to make sure that Alphari can use his keyboard. I don't know what the actual problem is. I'm just going to assume that his keyboard has exploded. The keys are everywhere. He doesn't have the squiggly key that you really need in League of Legends.
The tilde. We learned what this was called the last time.
Yeah, but I always prefer the squiggly key.
Didn't we call it the squiggly boy?
Well, I never called... Why would I know?
Squiggly boy.
I called it the squiggly key.
The squiggler one.
You've also got the...
Okay, I'm not going to let us go down the rabbit hole.
What am I doing? I was sitting there being like, let's have a look at the other keys that you have on a keyboard, shall we? And I don't know why. You know, in pauses, you're looking for things to talk about. And for some reason, my brain went, you know what? I think the fans will really enjoy if you talk about what's on a keyboard, because no one knows what's on a keyboard.
Does anyone here want to learn what's on a keyboard from Vedios?
No, they don't.
Here we go,
no, they don't.
Teach us what's on a keyboard. Give me one more key, one more special key.
The only fun fact I have about keyboards, and this is literally the only one, is that on... Oh, no, I'm going to mess this up now. On European...
It's okay, no one's listening. You're fine.
On European keyboards, they put the @ under the 2, whereas in the British ones, they put it next to the enter. Yeah. Right?
So American and European is different as well.
Yeah, so it's like, that's my fun fact for you. Thanks, crowd. I appreciate that. We're back into the game, so you don't have to listen to me talk about random stuff anymore.
I was Googling keyboard facts just in case Mithy jumps in and jumps out. Easy enough escape for him down towards the bottom lane. But let's talk a little bit
31 weird and fun facts about keyboards. No, we're not talking about that. Talking about the game. Nukeduck versus Caps. Let's go. Medic. Look, jungler.
Oh, jungler is just waiting from the side. Caps flashes away, puts the twin flanks down as well, but Jankos ganking in the top lane. Alphari trying to get away. The Sonic Wave connects, flashes under the tower, almost locks up Jankos with the Mark of the Storm. Does, but he's just out of tower range. Cold on his way up. Not really too much more going on as Mithy jumps in, Perkz spell shields it. Mithy maybe a little bit overexpended. The gleaming quill.
Find your words, man.
Will heal Patrik back up. I'm just so surprised to see Rakan back on the field.
So what we saw there were 2 ganks happen at the same time. Kold ganked mid, while Jankos ganked top. The difference was Jankos used his flash to try and secure a kill onto Alphari, which means that he lost his flash in the process, whereas Kold and Nukeduck expended nothing, but got that summoner spell out from Cap. So now when the level 6 mark comes round, there is a lot of potential for Nukeduck to set up a kill and start that snowball going for the Zed. He's very close to that level spike, and especially once Kold gets level 6, you think about it. The death mark, if it doesn't have enough damage, throw that ultimate, the Requiem, down, and that might just be enough to turn it into a solo kill.
Nukeduck on his way towards that level 6. Cold's still only 5 though, so it's going to be a little bit of time before we see that Karthus ultimate coming out. Mithy's done a good job of continuously engaging here in the bottom lane. Ignite comes out with Perkz, he flashes away. Mikyx with the Ghost Water dive as well. Will just escape, but looking towards those level 6s, Kold just around the corner here as Captain Jankos square up against
Nukeduck just about to hit level 6. Kold wants to keep him here because he wants to find this kill.
Oh, Dark Harvest stack onto Kold.
Nukeduck doesn't quite have it. Here it is. Now he has the 6, but they won't be able to find this kill.
It's a cannon wave, though, that Caps is going to lose here, so still experience put behind the G2 mid lane, and we wondered if Nukeduck could have a strong performance on this set, already taking a bit of an advantage.
Let's appreciate right now that 5 or 6 minutes into the game, Nukeduck, Origen already have a 1,000 gold lead over G2 Esports in the early game. The place where G2 have often been dominant, Origen are controlling the state of the map right now.
It is a double klepto build from Origen here.
I mean,
so
for sure.
Obviously, you have to give them credit for getting the gold, but a lot of it is coming in that bottom lane, 300 gold difference, even though the CS is even. Top lane, it's about 50 CS, 50 gold or so as well, the difference between the two teams. But mid, big advantage for Nukeduck, right?
I mean, you're definitely right, Mehle. It's important to take into consideration, but the fact is, Origen right now, they're the ones applying the pressure. They have pressure in mid, they're trading very aggressively in bot. They even got the flash out from Perkz in the 2 versus 2. And the only one that's really struggling right now is Alphari in this top lane matchup. You know, and I talked about how Alphari should have pressure. Ooh, hang on, we have the flash in.
Caps doesn't have the 6. So much damage. Caps is dead! Look at the moves! Look at the plays, Venius! What was that?
We talked about the level 6 mark for Nukeduck. We said that he does have kill pressure. The biggest thing was that Caps was still only level 5. He just gets back to lane. Oh, and our observer's already on the replay. Nukeduck, he sees the level difference between them, and he's just waiting for an opportunity. He flashes in, he ults, Caps knows where he's going to land, so he's able to land the Q, but Nukeduck gets everything onto him. He lands literally every single skill, and he gets a perfect 100-0 1v1 kill. Beautiful stuff from Nukeduck.
Didn't even really need the proc of the Deathmark to get that kill either. Nukeduck in a very strong position, has that serrated Dirk now in the mid lane as well. And something we do have to highlight with Origen is how strong they have been in the last few weeks. Not only getting kills in the early game, but also managing not to die. Look at this, it's comparing 6 games in weeks 1 through 3 where they died 22 times at the 15-minute mark, compared to their last 3 games where they've only died 3.
And you can see the difference in isolated deaths as well. They're not getting caught out as much. They're a lot more patient. They're a lot more aware of how to punish their opponents. And right now they sit with the goal lead. Now Jankos looking for a play up top.
No flash on Alphari. Kickback. There's a slicing mouse as well. Jankos taking over the tower. Counter slicing mouse from Wunder. Just steals the ultimate away from under him. Kold does have the Requiem, but I don't think it has quite enough damage to take down Wunder.
Is he going to try for it? Looks like not. Wunder will also have his shield back up as well. Jankos going for the loop-de-doop.
He loop-de-doops all his way around onto Kold. Doesn't have the cape, but will follow it up with the Sonic Wave. Kold flashes away underneath the tower. Jankos still on the chase here. Wunder's going to push in the wave, and Jankos just needs to hit a Q. Hits it! There's the connection. Jankos under the tower, though. He's done. A 1-for-1 trade under the top lane tower.
Jankos fine with this. He'll take the solo kill. He gets a lot of experience from that as well. And he forces Kold back to the grave. No flash available on the Karthus. Let's have a look back at how this happens. The setup is great. Jankos plays this perfectly. Alphari wants to try and ulti as quick as possible, but he doesn't land his ulti onto anyone because he just gets kicked out of it. Good patience there from G2 to wait, and then Wunder goes in with the cannon ultimate. You think he's going to die at this point, but no. He still has the E to get out. He has a bit of a shield as well, and then here's the classic loop-de-doop coming out from Jankos. He comes in from behind. Kold just kind of face checks the brush. He's not expecting Jankos to be in there. He doesn't have any vision, and then Jankos just goes to the last kill. And the problem is his W's on a very long cooldown because he used it to a ward. If Wunder was a little bit closer, maybe he could have gone out to safety, but unfortunately, it ends up being a 1-for-1.
I don't think I could have cast a cursed Origen any better than saying they haven't died that much. Usually 2 of them die. Still 1,200 gold lead though for OG. Patrik sitting on a Sheen. Hasn't actually gone for the tier yet. Must have had to back on a bit of an awkward amount of gold. Level 6 available for both the Origen bot laners. No level 6 on Perkz yet, but Mithy does have his. Pike can be so impactful. We've seen how good Mithy is on the Pike as well just a couple of weeks ago. Caps now gets the blue. He's past that level 6 mark. Makes it a lot harder for Nukeduck to get that one-on-one kill.
Caps actually deciding to go for the blasting one rather than the tier early on. Clearly he wants a little bit more damage during the laning phase. Wants to be able to harass. Wunder trading very well. You know, so also just coming back to this top lane matchup because I talked earlier. Oh, never mind, we don't have time, Jankos.
The loop-de-doop.
Yeah, it's another loop-de-doop up top side. He has not been spotted by Alphari, but Alphari very aware. You know what? This guy could be here. Going to play defensively. Just be patient.
Alphari does have the flash. No flash on Wunder. Hasn't stolen away the ultimate.
Jankos also has flash, though.
Here goes Jankos, looking for the flash kick, gets it straight away. Alphari trying to get away, but he can't escape from Wunder and Jankos. No need to burn the flash. Jankos gets his 3rd kill of the game, and once again, the First Blood King is coming up big for G2.
Hard camping around the top side of the map. Wunder's been playing this 1v1 extremely well, and now he's just getting constant jungle assistance to try and put Alphari behind. The Sylas isn't actually getting any of the kills, though. It is Jankos securing them, but you know, after the performance of Jankos recently, I think it's warranted.
Oh, it definitely is. Had such a strong performance yesterday on the Elise. Teleport coming out from Alphari. Still has the flash. Rift Herald started as well by Jankos. Could do a loop-de-doop down across towards this top lane if he wants, but instead, it looks like it's going to be Wunder just getting a bit of deep vision in. You can see Jankos, his early game across the course of the split has been impeccable.
Yeah, I said it yesterday, the return of the First Blood King. He definitely seems to be on track to his old school days. Last year, he definitely had some mixed performances, but this year he has been very solid. Now we see the bot lane.
Mithy gets the hook off, but there's the quickness. So much damage coming out from Patrik already. Mithy dead, and Perkz just couldn't do anything to save his save his support. Doesn't even have the heal on the Sivir. Patrik and Mithy winning out a pure 2v2 bot lane.
And we heard Perkz say yesterday that he thinks Patrik and Mithy have shown a lot of growth. Perkz loves to play his former support, Mithy, and so far they're winning out on this 2v2 against the Pyke lane. They will pick up 2 turret plates. Origen's duo showing huge growth compared to the first time that these two met.
Oh, definitely. Worked their way through 3 turret plates overall in that bottom lane, giving them that meaty gold advantage. And across the board, Origen are putting up a strong fight here against G2.
Would love to see Patrik and Mithy swap towards the top side now. Something that Ender talks a lot about is rather than try and siege for those last 2 plates, move up towards the top side and secure yourself 6 plates overall. Start threatening those plates as well. And Nukeduck has found Jankos. No flash, remember.
There's the Requiem as well. No life for Jankos. He felt the pain of a Requiem there as Nukeduck gets the kill.
Extremely quick from Nukeduck. He probably didn't even need the Ignite. He didn't have to expend the flash. They didn't need the Requiem as well, but Kold, he just wanted a bit of an assist. Overall, Nukeduck looking strong. He might actually go into Caps here. I think he's going.
And Mithy's there with the chase. Doesn't have the quickness. Dodges away. They both dodge out of it, but Caps still escapes with the flash. Whew. The mechanical intensity in this game is absolutely top-notch.
Nukeduck demonstrating why you always have to put him in the conversation for top mid in EU. And it's so great to see a Zed finding success as well. Now, there is Mikyx lying in wait. As Mithy's like, wait a minute, I just cleared a ward there. Why is there another ward there? Isn't able to spot out. Looks like the Patrik will return towards the bot side of the map. Doesn't have teleport, whereas Perkz still does. But Origen still sitting with a gold lead right now as Wunder really bullying out Alphari in this matchup. Yes, he did get a lot of jungle assistance, but looks like Sylas pretty strong in terms of the 1v1. No real surprise given the amount of sustain that he has.
Jankos practicing his moonwalk skills in the top lane there as he puts down the Rift Herald. This should be the tower falling. We didn't see the swap that perhaps we would have liked, but Rift Herald used at the opportune moment here before those turret placings fall off, so you get the extra gold. They get the first tower in the top lane as well. Only just as I think Patrik is going to push in the bottom lane in just a second. But here comes Mithy straight onto Caps, grounding onto Nukeduck. Caps, not really many ways out of this one. Keeps getting underneath the tower though. And it looks like Nukeduck didn't want to flash for the final auto.
So the miasma from Caps there, we might not have time as Mikyx spotting out Patrik.
Patrik does, he should be able to get out of range.
So no kill happens there, but in the mid lane, the miasma from Caps stopped Nukeduck from being able to teleport to his other shadow. If he had gotten that last auto off, Caps almost certainly would have died, but you're right. He had the flash up medic, he decided not to use it. He thinks it's more valuable to keep it and just put pressure down onto Caps rather than securing a kill.
As we move out of the laning phase, teams grouping up 3-2 men into a separate lane, trying to get rid of those first tier of turrets. It's about 600 gold difference between these two Goliaths, but I think a lot of people would have expected by this point in the game G2 to kind of be snowballing away from Origen.
And a lot of credit has to go towards Patrik and Mithy. They've been playing extremely aggressively in the bot lane. You know, you can talk about how Kleptomancy helps them get a gold lead, but they are 1.5k gold ahead. That is because they have been finding 2 versus 2 kills. They have been pressuring the turret plates. They've been taking advantage of the fact no heal on Perkz, no defensive summoner spells means that they can just continue to play aggressively. And Mithy showcasing that Rakan still has value on the current patch.
So you have to feel next steps for Origen, move that Zed into a side lane, get him into one of those 1v1 matchups if you can. You've opened up the map a little bit more. You want to keep the pace of the game going. You want to keep getting that Zed fed, because otherwise you are looking at a Cassio and a Sivir in those late game team fights.
Yeah, you certainly are. And the thing for G2 is they still have a really strong side laner with Wunder. Level 11 on the Sylas right now. He is continuing to push all the way up towards the tier 2 turret in the top lane, and Alphari definitely struggling in this situation. Again, it doesn't help that Jankos has been top multiple times, but this is a lane that G2 will constantly have pressure in. The one thing about Wunder is he's always been known as a solid split pusher. Even on his days in Splice, it was when he was able to play in a side lane that that team found so much success in the past. So G2 still in a solid position right now. The gold gap isn't out of control worthy yet, but the fact that Origen, 15 minutes into the game, still looking very good is definitely a positive for them.
Definitely a second dragon as well on the cards here for Origen. It's only a cloud, probably why G2 aren't contesting it too heavily, but with a mountain in their back pocket as well, that's just a little bit of a bonus.
So, thinking back to when the last time these two teams met, Origen actually had a very solid 2v2 bot lane because they ran the Draven into the Zoe something or other. Yeah. And they were actually doing really, I think it was Zoe Rakan that they played against too. And then it was about the 15-minute mark that they were doing really well. And then, all of a sudden, Patrik died in mids due to a Mikyx engage, and then the Zoe, Jace, Karthus composition came online from G2, and Origen couldn't play the game. So I find it quite entertaining that Origen actually first picked the Karthus as an almost like a throwback to the first time that they met, and perhaps they will be able to find that first win against G2 like no one else has been able to do. Now, Wunder and Jankos, once again, have their eyes set on Alphari. They are determined to put him behind, but the rest of Origen looking to try and help out.
Haven't really seen that huge impactful Requiem yet either from Kold. You know, he had that one when Jankos died, but it didn't actually even connect. Nope. He didn't get an assist. And I feel like you can kind of define a Karthus game by how many kills you get off the first few Requiems. You need to get that extra damage coming out. Death Mark! Perkz going to survive. Mithy.
Requiem.
Oh, Requiem! Is there a spell shield? There's not! Press R, says Kold, gets the kill, and just as we were talking about it, Origen are able to capitalize. They get the mid lane tower here as well. Origen pull the trigger.
That was so good. So good from Nukeduck and Patrik, because just as the teleport comes through, Patrik uses his ulti to get that initial burst of damage. Nukeduck immediately jumps on top of him, and they know they have the Karthus ulti to help secure that kill as well. And it ends up securing another tower in favor of Origen. So this is what they were lacking in the past. They didn't have that ability to just make those plays, be willing to try and catch their opponents out. And right now, Origen, they have that confidence. They're making these plays, and again, we can see it. Note here, the teleport. The fairly defensive teleport, nothing too crazy, but Patrik gets that, the ultimate, then immediate teleport back to the shadow from Nukeduck. He uses his ulti. Good interrupt from Mikyx to keep his AD carry alive, but unfortunately, he can't do anything to help save him from the Requiem. So Perkz definitely being put behind in this game.
I think you have to put Origen up there with the most improved team so far this split, considering how dominated they were in week one. It was a 27-minute game. They lost by 12,000 gold in only 27 minutes. Now, putting G2 to the sword, you know, they have a 2,000 gold lead at almost the 20-minute mark. They're looking very strong. They do have some scaling on their team, even if we talk about the strength of Cassio Sivir late game. You still got an Ezreal, you still got a Karthus, you still have the teamfight presence of a Rakan and a Kennen. Although Mithy
like,
can,
haha,
I've got you.
Taste my blade.
It's a skewer, actually.
All right. Is a blade not, does a skewer not encompass a blade?
I don't know. When you have chicken satay, do you think this is a blade that you're eating up?
What is a chicken satay?
Okay, can we get a quick shot here to cast with this one? It's like chickens on a skewer.
Oh, chickens on a skewer. Yeah. I see. I do not just simply call that skewered chicken.
No. No, you do not, Perkz.
Oh. Interesting.
Let's come back to League of Legends.
Very well.
Because you know quite a lot about that.
I do. That's pretty much my only field.
See, the problem was, I looked at you and thought of your cousin Sheffius. And was like, oh, he'll know a lot about chicken
mistake. He does. Yeah, he's the cook in the family.
You only have one. Oh. That's
because I looked. Okay, both of us had exactly the same thought.
I knew that he had the ultimate, and so I was just like, "Why has he used it right now?"
Oh, that's what you thought. I was like, "Wait a minute, is this a visual bug?"
No, I was aware that Wunder had stolen the ultimate away, so I was trying to work out why he'd used it. And obviously, he just wants to switch that ultimate up for something else pretty soon. So,
there's probably a time limit on it as well. Yeah. That's why I would imagine. So we just threw it out for a bit of extra damage, and yep, that's fine. Anyway, back to League of Legends. We're approaching the 20-minute mark, and I think this is the biggest deficit that G2 has ever been in at the 20-minute mark. And the game still feels kind of even.
I mean, it is kind of even.
I mean, it is. But like, when you kind of look at the gold, you look at the amount of control that the OG have on the map, then you kind of expect them to be in priority. And right now, the only reason they don't have that much vision is because the rest of Origen have just reset. So they'll now push out their ways. They'll look to clear through the river around Baron, and they may even look to try and steal away some of these jungle camps.
But I think a big question you have to ask yourself when you come towards this, 20-minute mark when those first tier of towers are down and people are looking at 2 items or so is, how did teams translate the early game leads they got into this 2-item portion of the game? Because Jankos got 3 kills pretty early on in this matchup. You got a big Wunder as well, but I haven't really seen them do a huge amount with that. Whereas I look at Nukeduck, as he got that early kill, and they've been able to force down that mid tower, they've been catching people out. It feels like Origen just a little bit more on the front foot.
Yeah, but hang on one sec, because Caps is being sneaky snick right now.
Don't step on him.
They get spotted out. You can see the Karthus and Ezreal also moving down. 1v2 here for Nukeduck.
Edge of Night. Nukeduck dodges away. Great stuff from him. There's the teleport as well, though. G2 maybe looking for the fight as Wunder comes in, steals away the Death Mark, but Wunder now caught off. Death Mark's onto Nukeduck. Patrik here for the chase. The miasma comes down. Nukeduck pulled back. Somehow survives for a very long time, but eventually goes down to Wunder. That's a shutdown. Patrik gets a counter kill, though. Tower goes down in the top lane as Jankos keeps pushing in.
So this is the bit that I wanted to mention just before the fight happened. You talk about how you haven't really seen much of Wunder's impact, but it's been very subtle. He's been chipping away at these towers in the 2 side lanes, and he'd actually taken a lot of HP from that tier 2 in the top lane, and that means that Jankos, he wasn't in a position to help collapse down towards the bot side, so instead he just pushed top. So while it looks like a 1-for-1 kill overall, G2 get themselves a turret, OG secured their 3rd Drake of the game, and again, overall it's a fairly even exchange, but OG, they're being pushed back a little bit in terms of topside control.
Infernal Dragon for Origen is pretty good though, and I do just want to bring attention to the AD carry itemization after this replay, because we are going to see Nukeduck be very slippery for a long time here. So
he pops the Edge of Night very early on, but because he's still standing on the miasma, he takes a lot of damage. Alphari, he does have ultimate, but he decides not to use it because he's worried about a bigger ensuing fight. And then the miasma positioning there as well was really good because it meant that Nukeduck couldn't flash out of that situation, meaning it made it easier for Mithy to land the hook to help secure that kill. So they did end up trading a 1-for-1, very solid. But now you'll see Zhonya's coming out from Wunder. Zhonya's now completed for Caps. Spell Shield onto Perkz, but they're looking for Caps once again.
Quickness straight on towards Wunder. He pops the Slicing Maelstrom. There's the Zhonya's as well, with the Igniter's ticking away, and Patrik will not quite hit the Mihael shot, but eventually gets the auto attack in. And there's another kill for the AD carry on the side of Origen. Nukeduck jumping in onto Jankos. Deathmark to follow him across the wall. There's the Requiem as well. 2 quick kills for Origen. They turn their eyes straight towards the Baron.
Yep, they have 5 members alive. G2 do have push in the mid lane though, but Origen, they don't care. They're just going to run the risk. Remember, they're a very squishy team, but they're going to look to take this very, very quickly.
Slicing Maelstrom still up for Alphari. Has got the flash as well. He's in this flank position. You can see him just down towards the bottom of your screen as Cap steps forward, looking to see perhaps if they can steal away the Nash. And Mithy going in as well. He almost gets it with the ultimate, but can't quite. Smack comes out. Tower goes down in the mid lane, and Origen will settle with the Nasher. And it looks like they're gonna give up this mid lane tower. Perkz on the push. Alphari isn't gonna go for the fight, but Mithy now not in the best of positions. On the hunt was popped by Perkz. Mithy caught out, goes golden, but there's no real way for him to go. Caught up with the Phantom Undertow, and Caps will get the kill.
Yeah, misplay there from Mithy. He didn't back with the rest of his team, and he ends up getting caught out by Caps. So at the very least, G2 take 1 Baron off the table, but OG, they still secure a massive objective, and they find a good couple kills onto G2. So here we have Wunder isolated in the middle lane. He overextends with no defensive tower to keep him alive, which means that he ends up getting picked off. Then Origen continue the pressure because they just want to get some vision in the enemy jungle, and they find Jankos. Good use of the ultimate there from Nukeduck to chase him down, ends up finding another kill, and then they make their way back towards the Baron. So G2, they trade it for a mid-tier 1. Perkz has actually been keeping up in farm, and you'll notice that he even has a gold bounty and is still relevant in this game as he has completed 2 items. But they are overall still behind. So I say still behind, like the goal gap is only 1.5k.
It's about 1,000 gold between the 2 AD carries as well. We are seeing the double tier build from Patrik. It's what we usually expect to see on Ezreal's now. Gives you a huge amount of damage output in these later game team fights. And I almost feel like I'm in a dream state at the moment, because it's been a very long time since we've seen any team really push G2 this far. Like 15 minutes they've been even, 20 minutes sometimes it's been even, but coming up to the 25-minute mark and have a team ahead against G2 seems very surprising.
Yeah, but Perkz said it himself. He thinks the Origen have shown a lot of improvement and that if anyone could challenge them, it would be them. And you know, one of the things I said in the, earlier in the day was consistency is something we've been looking for a lot from our teams in Europe right now, because a lot of the middle of the pack seem to be a little unreliable, but Origen has been the team that's steadily been improving week on week, and now they're actually challenging the first place team. They have the Baron buff, they're sieging onto the mid-tier 2, they now lead with 4 towers to 3. And G2 have been pushed harder than any other team has been able to push them so far this split.
Have to see if they can play from behind against Origen. 25 minutes in, 2.5 item Karthus, almost a 3 item Zed as well. But you are getting to that point where the Cassiopeia and the Sivir are truly online. You're looking at Essence Reaver, Rapid Fire Cannon for Perkz, could go towards the Infinity Edge next.
The Infernal Drake is spawning in about 50 seconds as well. Those will be pretty important. Look at these up and down spikes. It's just the difference in when G2 is getting a tower and then when Origen's getting a tower, and when those small objectives
swing.
are dropping. Yep. But I also want to take note of some of the items that have been completed, because
tell me that is.
The Ezreal is at 3 items now,
yep.
and he's working towards completing the Archangel Staff. Once that's done, Ezreal's kind of like at a really, really strong point. He does so much damage, especially in combination with his W. The Black Cleaver has been completed for Nukeduck, so he has a little bit more survivability. I'm surprised he didn't go Duskblade, but clearly he wants that armor shred. He wants the extra cooldown reduction from the item as well. I believe he is sitting on about 40% right now. He's at 45%, in fact. So he's going to be very mobile, and now he's level 16. I think that's the highest level in the game.
It is.
And he's going to be a massive threat off in a side lane that only Wunder can really deal with. And you're going to have some big outplays in order to beat him. So, Sylas vs Zed is actually really exciting.
So the Baron buff does just wear out. About 2,000 gold picked up for Origen off that, but no inhibitor towers broken. G2 still able to defend their base for the time being. You can see G2 trying to set up down towards this red side jungle, but Nukeduck is here. Infernal Drake goes over to Origen. Second of the game for them, a 17% AD and AP. Only going to buff up Nukeduck as he looks forward for Wunder. Alphari has the flank position here, going over the side of Master straight away. There's the quickness as well. Already they burst one. The Requiem comes out, forces Jankos away, and Wunder's going to shortly follow. Great stuff from Origen as they collapse under the tower.
No hesitation. Origen just group up. They see 3 members bot, immediately punish. Another tower goes towards them as they now extend their goal lead to 4K. Baron spawns in about a minute and a half, and Origen are not taking their foot off the pedal.
G2 on their back foot for the first time in a long time, you have to feel. Maybe the first time in the LEC. But Origen are playing out of their skins. Like, it's been coming. There's been a silent storm brewing in the Origen ranks, winning 4 of their last 4 games, but the decisiveness to do something like this is exemplary.
But just look at how this composition works as well, because you think you have to be afraid of Zed killing a single target, but then you have a cannon diving onto your backline, combined with a Rakan diving onto your backline, and then if that doesn't kill you, there's a Karthus ultimate there as well, and then the Zed is just looking for a target to either clean up or just execute. And I just love this composition from Origen, because it didn't rely on getting ahead in the early game, even though it did, whereas G2's comp is so, like, sure, they have good scaling in the sense of Sivir and Cassio, but again, they have no reliable frontline as Nukeduck has found Perkz.
Jumps into Perkz. Perkz flashes the wall. The Deathmark comes out. Nukeduck can just jump back. He waited for Mikyx to use the Bone Skewer and then jumps away. Kold here in the side of the fight as well. Patrik joins him up. Cannon's all the way down towards the bottom side. Alphari does have the teleport if he wants to join this fray, but just forces G2 away. Perkz now with no flash. Remember the last time Nukeduck played Zed on our stage, it was against Perkz. He beat him then. Perkz has switched roles since, but still, it looks like Nukeduck is the one to come out on top.
Well, they still have to end the game. Baron spawns in 10 seconds. The only vision that G2 have in the river is that Scuttle Crab, and you can see they've been able to maintain some control around the blue buff. But for the time being, Origen are the ones dictating the pace. G2, they just want to get close enough to that Baron. It's difficult, though. Look at the level difference between the 2 junglers.
Oh, look at the damage onto Mikyx as well. Two-shot barrage! Oh, just to the side of the pikeman. And Mikyx will retreat. Gets a lot of his health back, of course, with that passive, but they forced him away, and now Origen will turn it back towards that Nasher.
And that's it. No more vision around the river. OG just going to start this one up.
Oh, are they?
Get the illusion of starting this one up.
G2 walking into darkness, put the fast set alteration. They'll spot out Kold and Mithy, but now you don't know what's going on G2 at all. They're going to step forward. Zed on the flank as well. Nukeduck just waiting in the wings, waiting for his opportune moment to strike into caps, and G2 will push out this mid lane. Perkz stepping just a little bit too far forward, maybe. Mikyx takes a lot of damage from Patrik. Once again, clearing out the way, but the mid priority now in favor of G2. Perkz, you're all by yourself. You have a flash, Perkz! What are you doing, man? Just caught out! Origen just collapsed on the G2 bot laner. And Perkz was in no man's land.
Big fumble there from the AD carry from G2 as he loses his life. One of the best damage dealing opportunities they have to turn a Baron fight in their favor is now gone as Origen sit with a numbers advantage. They make their way back towards the Baron, but Caps still has something to say about it.
Still got a huge amount of damage on that Cassiopeia. Baron in the sights of Origen. You have to feel the Nashor their target. No vision here for G2. If we toggle it now, you'll see that G2 are walking into darkness. They pop down the far side Adoration, but Jankos stepping into the bush. There's the death mark, trying to take out the jungler. Jankos only level 15. Nukeduck takes a lot of damage, jumps back, jumps forth. Jankos ignite ticking, but the same guy will keep him alive. The Baron goes down, Kold gets it, and now Nukeduck's running way up towards the top side. Caps jumped in, he's down, and Wunder has to escape the Requiem, calling down the prayers of God onto the face of Jankos. And finally, the G2 jungler feels the hell that is a Requiem.
And Origen secure their second Baron of the game. They also find 2 kills onto G2. Perkz is still alive for potential wave clear, but Origen continue to interrupt the backs of G2. They want to break into the base right now.
They've got 2 waves pushing in. You can see Nukeduck off towards the top side. Origen pushing in with Patrik, Mithy, and Alphari in the mid as well. Perkz back up to try and defend. Wunder has the flank position here, steals away the slicing maelstrom. Maybe this is the chance, because those ricochets are going to do a lot of damage from Perkz. Here we go, the on the hunt. You can see Wunder just stunned up by Alphari. Nukeduck gets a tower in the top side as well. Inhibitor not broken, but their tower is down.
But look, pings coming out from G2 right now. They have potential flanking wards, but they're not going to take advantage of them. GOG go back to base. They extend the gold lead to 9,000.
9,000!
Look at how much they've gotten off this Baron buff as well. Origen looking so good. The death cap has now been completed for Kold. The Blade of the Ruin King working towards rounding out that build for the Ezreal. Nukeduck level 18 on the Zed. Mortal Reminder done as well. Origen taking the 9-0 team to the brink, and options look limited right now for G2. Origen have to make a huge misstep for G2 to come back into this game. And Nukeduck, he is on the hunt. He's found Perkz.
Perkz found once again, no flash on the AD carry. Perkz is down. Nukeduck doesn't even have to pop the ultimate. And now Mikyx steps forward, but the ultimate dodges away from it. The death mark. Nukeduck dodging around. Back. He's out of there. He's gone. Out of G2's hopes of winning this game. Kold goes unstoppable. And you can see Patrik pushing in the mid lane, looking for the inhibitor. G2 very much on the ropes.
Perkz and Wunder are unavailable to interfere with OGs. They push into the base. That is the first inhibitor down. Origen looking to take down the undefeated G2 Esports.
Here they go, the Nexus turret's their target, the first team in the LEC to take G2 all the way. Caps so low, Patrik pops the ultimate, but Caps has to dodge away from it. The Nexus towers are down. Origen on the cusp of history as they take down the undefeated. Origen will defeat G2.
Happy faces across the board as Origen do what no one in the LEC has been able to do so far. They stop the 18-0, they get in the way of G2 smashing those records, and they prove to everyone that they are a top contender here in Europe.
Great performance all round from Origen. G2 taking their first defeat of the LEC. Knocked back in their haunches a little bit. Of course, as a team, I'm sure they will come back stronger. Not one of those huge defeats that will totally...